Yo, everyone. This is the Movie Night Society once again, and we're talking about Rocky 4. This time we've been going through all the Rocky films, and yeah, we're talking about Rocky 4. I don't know. I don't know where to start with this. uh, it's I don't know. It's like weird. It almost doesn't feel like a continuation of the other films in a weird way. It feels
Yeah,
like it's just its own
its own thing.
beast. Yeah. Although there is stuff that continues on into this one. Uh, like stuff happens with Apollo. Uh, this is the second time you've seen it, right? I think it's
Yes,
my
this is my
second time
second
seeing
time.
it. Yeah, this is my second time seeing it as well. Uh,
How do you feel about it after your second watch?
I like it. I I enjoy this movie. Uh, it's very. I don't know what to say. It's very just like it is what it is.
Mm,
You know what I
Good way to
mean?
put it. Yeah.
It's like it's uh I don't know. I don't know how to talk about it. I mean, like Rocky 3 was getting into kind of like sillier territory. It's not like
Yeah,
quite silly
kind of
territory.
campy. I would use the word
Yeah.
campy.
Yeah, very like over the top. Uh this one is just like from a certain point on, it's just like all over the top.
Mm,
Uh
yeah, it's a good way to put it.
but
Yeah,
it's
it kind
not
of
over
follows
the top
it follows
with
Rocky
Sylvester
3 more
Stallone.
in that regard for sure, wouldn't you say?
What'd you say?
It's kind of tone follows more 3 for being a little bit more like campy, over the topish
Yeah,
than like maybe 1 or 2.
I think the the things that remind me of Rocky 3 are like I mean, like, okay, we're gonna spoil things if you haven't seen Rocky 4 or I don't know how you can really spoil this movie though. It's like there's like one thing that happens in it that might be a surprise to people,
Yes, which I
and
found
that's
out
like
before watching
yeah,
it
I
for the
knew
first
about it.
time.
I knew about it years ago,
Yeah.
like just hearing about these films.
I knew it was coming the first time I watched it, and it's like, I know what's gonna happen. I don't want it to happen, but I know it's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
So yeah, like the death of a main character kind of reminds me of Rocky 3. Uh and yeah, the kind of the tone of like the villain, I guess, is very Rocky 3, but it's different. Like Clubber Lang was very, kind of in your face and talkative.
Very
Uh
aggressive, over like
yeah.
almost cartoon villain-ish with how like antagonistic he was towards Rocky.
Yeah. And then Drago is more stoic
Very
and
stoic, robotic.
doesn't say anything really, like barely any
Yeah,
lines.
he doesn't have a lot of lines, which surprised me like the first time because he's probably like next to Apollo, I think one of the more talked about people that Rocky fights.
Yeah. Well,
So
this entire film, I feel like, is a big fan favorite.
yeah,
Uh, and
for
I
sure.
have to say, I kind of love it in a way. Uh, it's just it is so different than the other films, though. I think I
Mhm.
like certain elements and parts of it a lot. Like I think I just want to like the soundtrack for this movie is like amazing. I love the soundtrack. Uh, it's hard to believe that this movie was like nominated for like a ton of Razzies when it came out. I don't know if you like looked that up.
I don't no, I did not.
It was like
That's
nominated for like
eh,
10 Razzies or something. I
that's
think
a bit much. Come on.
I think the Razzies just like had something against Stallone. I'm not sure what exactly. Uh but like yeah, it won worst actor for
Really?
Stallone. Yeah, I don't know. He
What?
doesn't really do much in this
I
movie.
know. He's not bad in it or anything.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't think anything is really bad in this movie. Like that's the thing
That's
about it. It's
that's
just like
surprising that I did not know it was nominated for that many, and the fact that it was that the only one it won?
no, it won 5. It won 5
What?
Razzies.
I did
It
not
won
know this.
it won worst actor, worst director for Stallone, worst supporting actress for Bridget Nielsen, who plays like Drago's wife.
She was
Why?
fine.
Yeah, she was like totally
What was wrong with
fine. Like
her?
I don't know. I guess Red Sonja came out the same year or something. I maybe that's why. Uh,
She's
worst
not
new
in it that
star.
much.
Yeah, it won worst new star for her as well, and then worst musical score.
What?
I know, right?
What?
Like,
This is crazy. I didn't look up any of that stuff.
and then it was like it was
I am
nominated
shocked.
for worst picture of the year. I don't know what it lost to. I'm kind of curious now what it lost to, but it was also
Wow.
nominated for worst supporting actress for Talia Shire, worst supporting actor for Burt Young, who plays Polly, and then worst screenplay.
Wow.
Like,
This movie
really,
got a lot of hate, I guess. Dang.
I
It's
know it's
so
weird. Like,
unwarranted.
I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes, it has like a 37%, which is really low. I mean, like, I don't want to say I get it, but maybe for the time, it was like people were probably like, "What is this?" You know,
Mm,
like this isn't anything at all of like, it doesn't capture anything of like the original film, really, except for maybe a few moments. There were like a few more moments that kind of like did remind me of the other Rocky films and like their character development, mostly in the beginning though,
mhm.
because like once like Apollo dies in this movie, it just feels like all montages and
Yeah,
just
because it
kind of
pretty much
like,
is.
yeah. Yeah, I looked up, there's a lot of interesting trivia for this movie on IMDb. Um, and I'm gonna read some of it at some point, but one of them is that uh let me see. Oh god, I'm not wearing my glasses. I need to like wear my glasses for this. Um, let me see. Uh what the hell? There was a like a thing right here that just said like, oh, okay. It has been calculated that Rocky 4 is 31.9% montages, nearly a third of the film. During the second half of the film, or the last 50 minutes, it is approximately 50% montage. Uh,
Wow.
and I mean, there's a new cut of this movie that's out that we're gonna watch. I think sometime before, like, that our next meeting. That's going to be our next meeting. Uh, and I read too in the IMDb trivia that like this movie was like an hour longer in the original cut. So like a lot of footage got cut from this movie. Uh, and it is the shortest Rocky movie, I'm pretty sure. It's like 90 minutes.
Mm.
Um, which I think works for this movie. Like, this is kind of just like an entertaining, kind of quick blockbuster movie, I feel. There's almost like no real fluff or anything, which is weird to say because like there's a lot of montage and stuff, but it's like, yeah, it's a Rocky movie. You kind of want a montage. Um, but it is so funny, like how many times in this movie they just play the whole song. Just like play the entire song for like certain sequences. Uh like the James Brown song. They just play the entire song.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they cut around it or anything. And it's like, okay,
Living
like
in
I get it.
America.
I mean, I guess, I love that song. It's great. Uh but like that was apparently like James Brown's like first top 40 single in like 11 years, and it was like the
Huh?
last one he did
Huh?
that was
Okay.
like that went into the top 40. So like, it was a popular song. I think it was released as a single before the movie came out too. So maybe they like edited it or just like we're like, yeah, just include the whole song. I don't know. No Easy Way Out is almost played for the entire thing.
Mm.
uh, you know, uh, Hearts on Fire is almost played for the entire thing. I mean, like it's like kind of crazy how many times it's like, oh wow, yeah, they're just like playing almost the entirety of the song.
Yeah.
Uh, and no Gonna Fly in this movie. I forgot.
Yeah. I think this is the first one we don't have Gonna Fly, right?
Yeah, I was kind of like
Out of all the
waiting
songs that
for
they
it.
have too, and it's like, how did they not include that one?
Yeah, I think it's included on the soundtrack, I want to say. Uh I think I bought the soundtrack on iTunes, so like I think it's on there. I'm not sure though. Oh no, it's not.
Hmm.
Although Eye of the Tiger is used in this again,
Yeah, at the
for the
beginning.
Rocky 3, yeah, recap. Which
Yeah, which was nice.
obviously, yeah,
I
like
mean,
Eye of
can't
the
go wrong
Tiger
with Eye of the
rules.
Tiger. Yeah, it's like I'm never
Yeah,
gonna knock it for playing that.
yeah. Um, but okay, so like I guess we'll just kind of break down the plot because it's pretty simple. I mean, it's so
Hmm.
it's so simplistic, but that's kind of like what I think kind of works about the movie in a way.
So really quick though, before we go on to that, would you
Yeah,
say you liked this more the first or second time you watched it?
I think I liked this more this time around. Uh, because I feel like the first time I was just kind of like I don't want to say in shock, but just like I was like, wow, this like really is just so different from the other movies, and it's
Hmm.
like I don't know, it's almost like what the hell was happening here? Uh, that it just kind of caught me off guard. But this time, knowing what to expect, I was just kind of down to vibe with the movie, you know?
Yeah, I kind of have very similar opinions. I think when it comes to that, like you do, because I think I told you about the first time I watched it. I felt like kind of mixed about it,
Yeah,
because I only knew certain things. Like I knew Apollo died already, so I was kind of interested to see how that would play out. But I expected like I had no idea that Drago like had so few lines as he did, because he's easily like I kind of said earlier, very much like because this is a fan favorite, he gets talked a lot about when Rocky kind of comes up. So I think I expected a lot more from him in terms of lines and stuff like that. And I think I was just so surprised with how little he talks, like we said. And I thought I'd we get like a little bit more of a build up, like a rivalry build up between him and Rocky. Uh, this was like kind of some of the things I was expecting. So it just kind of played out differently than I thought. And yeah, it's like kind of like it's like a lot of montages and everything, especially after Apollo dies. And it just feels like after that point, it like I said, a lot of montages, a lot of music, training, and then like the fights here. It's just like
yeah,
this pacing almost like it doesn't feel like a badly paced movie, but it's like the pacing just feels weird, especially like the first time.
yeah. I can't really think of too many movies that are like just this montagey,
Yeah.
you know?
So that a lot of like that stuff caught me off guard the first time. So I think I remember telling you I was like, I'm kind of like mixed on it. But the second time here I watched it, I actually really like this movie now. So
Yeah,
I think we
right?
kind of talked about that. It's like, well, maybe like after a second one might feel like a little bit different because like your expectations are so different going in, knowing what to expect. And I was just able to enjoy it a lot more this time. So
Yeah, it's just like a fun movie and it yeah, kind of like once you sort of I don't know, shut your brain like once you basically know that okay, this isn't like the other movies.
mhm.
This is almost I mean, this really is like Rocky 4, you know? It's the fourth movie in the series. Like most movie series like get kind of like different as they go on, like to say the least, you know? So it's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of enjoyable just as its own kind of thing.
Yeah, I think for me too, this one, like this and the first one, um, I think after I watched it like a second time, it went up. Like Rocky one, like when I watched Rocky, the original Rocky for the first time, I enjoyed it a lot, but then like the second time I loved it. And then like when I watched two and three, probably especially more like three, it's like I liked them both a lot the first watch. But the second one, it's like I think I like it like maybe like a teeny bit less. It wasn't like quite as good as the first, but still like pretty close for both of them because I enjoyed those movies a lot. This one though was like went from being like mixed to like I really liked this one. So it's
Yeah.
kind of funny I think how that happened where I was just so mixed on it before. It was like I can see what people like about it, but it's like, if we're talking about like fan favorites, I think I'd prefer Rocky 3. But now it's like I don't know. So I just think that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, I
Is
think we
how
should try to rank the Rocky films because I mean the
yeah
first three films were like pretty easy to rank, right? Like one's the best, two's the
yeah
second best, and then
and
three's
3
like yeah, and then this is the one that complicates it. I
yeah. It's
feel
like
it
I'm not
complicates the
I'm not
ranking. Is like
sure.
yeah, so we'll get to that. Yeah, let's get into the plot a little
Yeah,
bit.
let's do that now. That I just wanted to hear your thoughts on like how many times you've seen it and if it like went up at all in terms of
Yeah,
enjoyment, because it did for me. So I was like, I think Julie mentioned that it gets better. Like once you watch it another time, like you could change your opinion on it, and that's what happened. So I just wanted to mention
yeah.
that.
I mean, this is my second time seeing it, I believe. But yeah, it like after I kind of let it sit with me after the first watch, I was like, I think I kind of liked it. And yeah, I think I've solidified that. Like, yeah, I like this movie. Um, but yeah, so the plot is basically this like kind of up and coming boxer. The Soviet Union basically throws like their first fighter into boxing, into like major
Yeah,
league boxing or whatever you want to
yes,
call
because
it.
this is taking place like at the tail end of the Cold War.
Yeah, yeah. Rocky Four ended the Cold War.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, all right,
It
like
kind of feels like
it's
that.
timeline adds up. It's not exactly, but it's close. So you
Yeah,
can just say
it's.
Rocky ended
I
it.
mean, I think this movie came out 85, right?
Yeah.
And
So
then
like I said, tail end,
The Soviet Union, like, what dissolved or whatever you want to
1991,
say. Yeah,
the
91.
year of
So
my
like,
birth. You're welcome. Maybe
oh, that's
I ended
right.
the Cold War. Maybe I
You.
did it. I ended my birth into the Cold War. Sure, we'll go with that.
So yeah, so the Soviet Union's like finally putting a boxer into like major boxing. It's Ivan Drago. He's almost like a super soldier. He's
Yeah,
like the Captain America of like the Soviet Union.
pretty
It
much.
feels.
Yeah, that's a good way
Uh,
to put it.
yeah. Okay. So one thing that I found interesting, just reading trivia and like IMDb and stuff, is that this movie features like a lot of apparently like groundbreaking sport methods and like equipment in it that like wasn't like ready to be kind of like used like in a public uh way for a while.
Okay, so some of
um
the equipment, that is it more for like what Drago uses for his like strength training and
I
muscle
think
endurance?
so. I'm not entirely sure what exactly. I don't think it's the robot. uh
Yeah, I don't think it's probably like a lot of the techniques, which they even kind of like mention on, is they use a little bit more like science behind the training, which probably at that point in time, yeah, that probably wasn't a big factor into training. So I can
yeah,
probably see, timelines. I don't quite know where exactly that matches up, but I could see like it'd be around that time where they kind of started using more science based in the athletic field.
yeah, and it's funny too because it really does make this feel like a sci-fi movie at times,
Mm,
because it's like, okay, this is like equipment that isn't like, available to the public. So it kind of just feels like here's this futuristic technology, but like apparently like it was, I guess some of it was like real or like could be used at the time. I just like, yeah, it just like wasn't public yet, I guess. I don't know. I didn't read it too much about that stuff, but I found that interesting because yeah, like not only is that stuff in the movie, but then there's this robot, which this is like the greatest
that
thing. I
I remember like way before we watched these, like you talked about that robot, and then like the first time I watched it, I kind of forgot about that, and then like when it starts kind of coming, I was like, oh yeah, Julian told me there was a robot in this movie, and
it's so
it's
weird.
so like jarring.
Yeah,
So it's like,
I
what is this? Where did this come from? This feels like so out of place.
everyone's reaction to it is basically Apollo's reaction to it.
Yeah,
when the
Polly's
robot
kind of has that reaction too, where he's just looking at it like, "What on earth is this thing?"
Yeah, but I love the second scene that the robot is in where like Apollo is like talking about, well, okay, Apollo sees like Ivan Drago on TV, and Apollo, after uh having his heavyweight championship like taken away and everything, he kind of feels like he has to prove himself again, and he's like, I'm gonna teach this guy, this new guy, put him in his place. Kind of has that like cocky, arrogant attitude again. Uh and like he's talking with like Rocky and Adrian and Polly at
Yeah,
like the table. And then
robot comes in.
the robot just like literally comes in and it interrupts the entire conversation
Yeah,
just to give like Polly like a beer or something.
yeah, because now it acts more like I don't know, like a housewife or something to him.
Yeah, he like changed the voice on it, I
Yes,
guess.
now it's a female, more sounding female voice.
Yeah, and and Apollo just looks at it like, okay,
Okay, yeah, and then like just starts going back.
moving on.
It's like anyway, like continuing our conversation before we were interrupted.
I
Yeah,
like
that's pretty
Carl
funny.
Weathers just plays it so straight that it's like it cracks me up every time.
It almost feels like that's his genuine reaction. Like they didn't tell him that robot was going to come in the scene. He's just like, okay, I got to stay
Yeah,
in character or
it's
something.
funny because I was looking up a little bit about the director's cut, the new cut, and like obviously like all the robot scenes are cut out of the new cut, which makes perfect sense, right? It's too silly and like it's just weird. It like has nothing to do with anything. Uh, but apparently like whoever voiced the robot said like oh, Sylvester Stallone just doesn't want to like pay me licenses or like anymore or something, or royalties. It's like, yeah, sure, buddy, that's the reason. like
That's funny. Oh my goodness.
it's not that it's just
Doesn't
like
want to pay
totally out of
me.
place. That
Just
I
doesn't
thought
wanna
that was so
pay-
funny.
That is funny. That is funny. Just doesn't want
uh,
to pay me, man.
since we're on the topic of the robot, I gotta read like one of the trivia things. And again, I don't know how much of this stuff is like super accurate or anything. Uh, but I do I did find this part. Hold on. Apparently, this robot was created by International Robotics Incorporated in New York City, uh, and then apparently this robot is named Sico, like SICO. I don't know what it stands for. Uh, and it was a member of the Screen Actors Guild, and it toured with James Brown around this time.
Okay, I guess maybe the robot and James Brown, they went hand in hand. Okay,
It's just
I
so
guess
weird. Like,
that is very strange.
like why? Why is this robot even in the movie?
Yeah, it does. It serves like no purpose. It's in two scenes, and that's it.
Yeah, I think it's literally just there to give Polly something to do in this movie.
Yeah, but it barely even gives him to do anything. He doesn't do much.
Yeah,
with
that's
it.
like one thing I don't like about these Rocky sequels is like they start to feel like Polly and Adrian are just kind of there.
Yeah, because Adrian always just kind of comes in to kind of tell Rocky that she doesn't want him to fight, and then
Yeah,
he
and then
does
turns
it
around
anyway.
and
And yeah,
yeah,
that she kind of like has a speech where she motivates him to like kind of give it his all.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of like okay, like we get it. Yeah, they're kind of just like there. Polly has some funny lines, but like, uh, yeah, not really like important characters anymore.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, Apollo Creed is really kind of filling the important character role in these two. Because yeah, so Apollo fights Ivan, and I think in like the second round or so, uh, Ivan is just like so powerful, like his punches, uh, that he does like kill Apollo, not like purposefully or anything, just like he's just so powerful that
yeah.
yeah,
Because I think
he
they showed
dies.
like the power behind his punches, like a machine. Like, oh, a normal man can punch at this much. I don't know what they used to measure it. I think they now use PSI, but I don't know
Yeah,
in the movie
something.
what they used. But it's like he was hitting almost like 3 times or something like that the amount of like a normal punch.
Yeah, like I
It's
think
like
at least twice.
at least I think it was over like the double amount, but something like between double or like triple, it's some like crazy amount where it's trying to hype up how powerful he is. Like that's a big thing is his power.
Yeah,
And yeah, Apollo doesn't want to stop the fight because he wants to prove himself
yeah,
and ends up dying. Which I don't know if you knew this about like the trivia, but like apparently like Carl Weathers, his acting was like so convincing when he falls down and his body's twitching that I guess the doctors on set actually thought something was wrong with him.
oh really?
Yeah,
Oh
like they
wow.
were scared something actually went wrong with him.
Well,
Um,
okay, because there is a bit of trivia. It's like the first thing on the IMDb trivia. I wanted to read most of this like verbatim.
okay,
I don't know if you heard about this or not. I think I heard about this a while ago. Uh, so Sylvester Stallone decided that for the shooting of the fight, he and Dolph Lundgren, who plays Ivan Drago, should hit one another for real, so
yeah,
as to
that I knew
increase the
about.
intensity. Yeah.
That
So
probably
after doing
happened
three
with
takes of
Apollo too.
Rocky, uh, of Rocky taking shots to the ribs, Stallone felt a burning in his chest but ignored it. Later
Mm,
that night, he had difficulty breathing and was
I think he
taken
went
to a
to the
nearby
hospital.
emergency room. Yeah.
Yeah,
His blood pressure was over 200. I think normally it's supposed to be like 120, I think.
120
Uh,
over 80 is usually the normal. So yeah,
right.
blood pressure of 200 is very high. It's not good.
Yeah. And he was flown a low altitude flight from Vancouver, Canada to St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica. He remained in intensive care for 4 days. And what had happened was that Lundgren had punched him so hard in the chest that Stallone's heart had slammed up against his breastbone and began to swell, cutting off the blood supply and restricting the oxygen flow throughout the body. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah, it is pretty
Uh,
nuts.
like, thank God he survived. Uh, but like, I found that like, whoa, because I didn't remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah, the fight in
boxing's
this
a
is pretty.
dangerous sport.
Yeah, uh, yeah, and the fight in this is pretty entertaining. Uh, and the one with Apollo is very short. It's just kind of like to get the plot set up.
It's kind of funny how, like before the fight with Apollo, how kind of goofy it is too, because Apollo's really playing it up, which we've seen him do like in the first one when he's not kind of really taking a fight seriously. He likes to be very like showsman about it and likes to kind of dance around and really play it up. So
Yeah,
it's very like in character. It's like, okay, he kind of did this in the first one. It's just like way more kind of over the top than the first one, but still very fitting for the character. Um,
yeah, and it is an exhibition match.
yeah,
So that's kind of why Apollo's not taking it super seriously as well.
yeah.
Um, and that's why it's like kind of shocking that like Apollo just dies, which I think we've mentioned before. That like Sylvester Stallone like kind of regretted that,
Yeah, I think it was a
choosing to kill
mistake.
off the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think having him be injured more profoundly or something would have been better because this character's just so great. It's like
I know that's what was
got to be
so
in the
disappointing about
series.
it is he's easily like one of the best characters
Yeah, he's
in
like
the
number
movies.
two for me
Pretty
in
much,
at this
yeah.
point.
Because he was in all of them at this point, and he stole the show for a lot of scenes he was in, I thought. So
Yeah,
yeah, to kill him off just to kind of give Rocky motivation for one fight just feels a little it didn't feel like needed. Like they didn't need to go that extreme with it. It's like you said, they could have like okay ended Apollo's career like it, I don't know, could have put him in like a coma or something along those lines. Like that would have still been like just as much motivation for Rocky to get in the ring and take this guy out without having to kill him. Because I think they
yeah,
could have kept doing stuff with his character. It didn't feel like okay, there's nothing else we can do with him, so let's just have him die here. Just feels like a big waste.
yeah. It's a shame. Uh, I think Carl Weathers at some point recently said like, just bring me back somehow.
Yeah.
like just find a way to bring me back. Like introduce like that was my long lost twin or something. Like
It's like
be
I
fine
faked
with
my
that.
death in one time. I pulled the Nick Fury.
I've been hiding for how long now? It would be like 35 years.
Yes. His way
Creed
of
3 is coming out. They could pull some crazy twists.
yeah, but
No, I don't.
Sylvester Stallone's not in Creed 3.
Yeah, which sucks. I
I
don't
think it
know
has to do with
why.
like rights or something. I think he's like having fights with the producers or something.
Yeah,
That's what I
that's what I've
heard.
heard.
So
He
yeah,
has like an idea for like a Rocky 7 or
yeah.
something, but it's not like going through or something.
Mm.
Uh, which is it's like always a shame when just like there's that kind of legal issue with something that is just like it feels so clearly like Stallone's
Mm.
thing,
Yeah.
you know. Like I'm fine with the Creed things, like the Creed movies, like being its own kind of series that they could play around with, but like I don't know. I feel like Stallone should be involved still in
Mm.
some capacity.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
and that's one thing too I wanted to mention. Like Creed 2 follows like the events of this movie pretty,
That's what I've
heavily. Like
heard.
Ivan comes back and is much more of a character.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I've heard. That's why I'd like
I
to see the Creed movies at some point.
Yeah, I actually like really liked Creed 2. I was surprised. But we're not talking about that now. We're
Yeah,
talking
we're
about
talking about
Rocky
Rocky
4.
4. Get
Yeah.
back on track.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, like, what happens? I mean, like, Rocky accepts to fight Ivan, and the fight is going to take place in Russia. So they fly to Russia, and like, really, it's just like a bunch of training montages, and then
Yeah, and
Rocky
then the
and
fight.
Ivan fight,
Yeah,
and then it's like, oh, gee, who wins? Like, I mean, like,
yeah.
it'd be pretty weird if Ivan won, like at that
That would
point in the
be.
movie.
Yeah, I don't think there was
Uh,
like any doubt anyone going into this fight thought Rocky was going to lose.
yeah,
Like he's got to avenge Apollo, so it's like you're not going to end it here, like with Rocky losing.
yeah. It's like weird to have like a Rocky movie that just you know these movies were like so character driven and like very nuanced and everything, and then it just like revenge, and it's just kind of like okay. I mean, I like a good revenge story, but like it's just, it's just like such an odd
Hmm.
direction to go in,
Yeah, if they had kept Creed alive, I could see. I mean, they'd have to change like some things up for the movie, but it's like Creed loses the fight, but he's hospitalized, and they're not sure if he can make a comeback or not, or his boxing career's over. So like Rocky
Yeah,
goes in, maybe like loses to Drago, and it's like Creed's like, okay, I gotta make up for what I did before. I gotta now kind of avenge Rocky, and then like so part of the movie would be Creed like recovering and like kind of getting the strength back and everything, but being serious this time going into the fight and kind of like winning in a rematch.
yeah,
Something like that. Like if they kept Creed alive, it's like that would have been kind of cool to see. Because then it's like, okay, if a Creed could have been there to kind of like redeem himself, like if he's alive, that would be the only case I'd see Rocky losing. But since Creed's dead, it's like there's just Rocky to avenge him, and that's it. So it's like Rocky's kind of got to win.
yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah, it's just a shame that they killed this character. Uh, I think it shows at least like how much we like the character.
Mm-hmm.
Just that like
Definitely.
it's like it sucks that he dies.
I know.
I mean,
Gosh, it
it sucks
sucks.
when like when Mickey died, but with that it was like okay, he's like really old.
Yeah,
He's like the
him.
mentor to Rocky. It,
Yeah,
it made more sense.
it did make more sense. Yeah, it's still a very sad death, but I don't
Yeah,
think it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah,
yeah,
it's like you
and
said, he's
like
older. He's the mentor. I could see him kind of passing away, and then kind of Rocky having to kind of do things more on his own,
yeah,
something like
and
that.
and like Rocky 3 being like was supposed to be the last like Rocky movie. It kind of made sense to do that.
Hmm.
With Rocky 4, it's like yeah, it just kind of feels like it's that trope or whatever of like let's kill a main character to really shock,
Yeah,
people. Uh
get you to really hate Drago.
yeah. Uh or like I can think of examples of that kind of thing where it like works and somewhere it doesn't. But yeah, I don't know. I guess like for this it works just in the form of this like simple like Rocky movie, Rocky sequel, it like kind of works, the simplicity of it, but like because there's other movies, it's like,
Yeah,
oh
because when I
well,
got to like the other ones, it's like, man, I'd really love to see what they could have done with Apollo Creed in this. Like
yeah,
his absence is noticed.
yeah, it's yeah, it's a shame.
Hmm.
Uh, um, yeah, so I don't know. I'm trying to think of other stuff to talk about with the movie. Um,
I do gotta
I
say,
mean,
like, if you want to
yeah,
talk about something, because the montage stuff is next, and I really liked. I mean, I liked it the first time I watched it, but I really liked it here again too because I like the choices of songs and everything. But I also like that we're getting to see Rocky and Drago's training kind of side by side. And I think I mentioned this when we talked about it when I saw it the first time. But I like how because Drago is so like kind of stoic and machine and his training really reflects that. While Rocky's all out in nature and he's doing outdoor training and he's got to run through snow and like he's got to lift, he's got to chop wood and lift rocks and everything. And it's like it feels obviously very natural, very human, as opposed to Drago feeling more machine and
yeah,
soulless almost. So I liked that contrast a lot. Uh, it's I think it speaks a lot about their characters and obviously how they
yeah,
handle their training and everything. And I liked that contrast because we got to see like a little bit of like Rocky training, like in Rocky 3, and then like how Clubber Lang kind of trained, but it just like Clubber Lang just kind of trained like a boxer would, and he's just like very over the top with his. But in this, I really liked the contrast how they were, which and again it kind of like reflects the characters themselves. So that's
yeah,
kind of what I have to say about that. Like if you want to talk about the montage training really quick, I liked it. My,
yeah,
my, my only advice to Rocky is his training methods are good, but the one where he's got to like pull the sled with his back, like he's crawling through the snow and like doing that. It's like wouldn't recommend that. That'd be really bad on your back if you messed it up. So just gotta say, it's like Rocky, if I was your trainer, that'd be a no go. Everything else fine, but that one bad for your back. Don't do that. You could hurt yourself.
That's kind of the interesting thing too about this movie that I didn't think of until now is like Rocky doesn't really have a trainer in this.
No, she kind of says too that he's just kind
Yeah,
of going to be training himself. Kind of gives you like Rocky 1 vibes a little bit before he like makes up with Mick, where he kind of
yeah,
trains himself a bit. So, but
yeah,
yeah,
and it's like in 3, Mick dies, so like Apollo is the trainer.
yeah,
I was sort of ready for um uh I don't remember the character's name, but he's played by Apollo's trainer,
yeah,
played by Tony Burton,
yeah,
Duke.
Duke. Yeah,
Uh,
I
I don't
like
know
Duke.
why I really like this character.
I
There's
do
something
too.
about him. He's just like so
He's so fun to watch. Like
simple.
whenever like Apollo or Rocky would be fighting, like how he yells like "Hey, get away from him" and stuff like that. He's always very entertaining. Uh, like outside the ring like that. I was like how it doesn't. I shouldn't say like over the top, but it almost kind of does feel
Yeah,
that
I
way
mean
from
this
him.
whole movie is pretty over the
Yeah,
top.
I always just thought that was I liked his performance, like how he would uh just like get away from him, get out of there. Like the way he would almost be like pleading to like Apollo or Rocky, like when they're getting beat down like that. Just
Yeah,
how he did that, I always thought was funny.
which we do kind of like understand because like Duke goes up to Rocky and is like, like Apollo was basically like my son. I raised him,
Yeah, it gives us a
and
little
it's like,
insight,
oh,
yeah, to the character like that, and be like, oh, because you could kind of tell like how close they were in some of the other ones. Because even in Rocky 1, I think he's the one who's like trying to no Rocky 2 when he Apollo really wants to rematch Rocky and he's trying to tell him let's like just let this go, move on
yeah,
and let this go, and Apollo just can't. So we see some like glimpses of that in some of the previous ones, but it's nice that we get a little bit more like in depth on their relationship. Because yeah, he's very
yeah,
like he's always been like very likable for any time like we did see him in these movies, and I like his performance.
yeah, yeah. He's like in the first Rocky, very
I think
very enjoyable character.
he's been in all of them at this point.
Yeah. he's just like, I don't know, he's like that character that I really love in this series that is just like I feel is underutilized.
Yeah, I can see.
He's got a great moment in 6 that I really like. Um, I don't think he's in 5.
Yeah, I don't think he's
Uh,
in 5. I think that's the only
and
one he's
then
not.
the actor, I didn't know this until today, that he did pass away in early 2016, which Creed came out in like I think late 2015. Uh, I think I'm like, oh, I wish that he was in Creed
Mm.
before he passed away
Yeah, that
because I
would have
like
been
the
cool.
character a lot. But yeah, he's always like just kind of there giving like good advice. Uh, and there's a funny moment where he's like in the lodge when they're in Russia, and he's like playing chess with this guy,
Oh
and
yeah,
checkmates him. Apparently, Tony Burton is an actual, or was an actual like pretty accomplished chess player, and
oh,
he
okay,
played chess with Stanley Kubrick on the set of The Shining, and actually beat
really?
Stanley Kubrick,
Wow,
which
yeah,
Stanley
cool.
Kubrick was like considered really good at chess.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
I didn't even know he was in The Shining. I was like, wait, where the hell is he in The Shining? I don't know if you've seen it or not, but
I have not.
he's a character that talks to Scatman Crothers on the phone at one point. I was like, oh shit, it's him. Uh, so I thought that was funny, like neat to see him like do. I always like when they have like actors do something that they kind of do in real life.
Hmm.
It's kind of like fun.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like when they do that type of stuff too.
yeah, I wish the character was in it more. Uh, just in the series in general, but it's nice to see him here. Um, Paulie's got some funny stuff, like when he's they're doing the pre-game uh whatever conference or whatever that they usually do before these fights. I still don't know what to call it. Uh, where they kind of like promote the fight almost and like
Yeah,
hype it
there's a
up.
term, but I don't know what it is
Yeah, I
either.
don't. I feel like I should learn the term because it's in every movie
Yeah.
of these.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, Paulie like kind of yeah makes some remarks uh about the Soviets. I forgot exactly what he had a funny line that I can't remember. It's like a funny moment when he's like in the he like tries to walk in the snow, just like falls over.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
uh, yeah, I don't know. It's like there's not like a lot of like things in this movie in a weird way, but it all feels very kind of epic and fun because of the music and the soundtrack. Uh, I'm trying to think of. I mean, the way this movie. Should we just get to the ending because it's really funny? I
Sure.
feel like Rocky wins, and then he like. There's never like any point in the other movies so far where he does this kind of thing, where he just like makes a speech and everyone is quiet, and like he basically, I don't know, says like we can all change, and then
Yeah.
like everyone claps for it, and it's so cheesy that it's kind of great,
Mm.
you know. Like I kind of loved it.
I remember like the first time you know, because it comes from the audience, like since he's in Russia, like if they're obviously want Drago to win, understandably,
Yeah,
and they begin to kind of cheer for Rocky throughout the fight. I think when he's kind of starts to prove himself and shows how great of a boxer he is, and they kind of change their mind. A lot of people start actually cheering for Rocky. So I think that's why kind of like in movie why he makes that speech. But it was
yeah,
when I watched it the first time, it's like that. It's like, oh, well, it's like I didn't really like you guys didn't like me, but I changed, you guys change, everyone can change. It's like, okay, that's not a bad message, but it's like, where's this coming from? That's
yeah. It's like
okay.
not a bad message. It's just
Yeah,
like
it's just like,
this is
okay,
so
that's not what I was expecting.
strange.
I know, pretty much.
Yeah, and it is kind of cheesy. I mean, like the way that everyone claps is like, yeah, right. you
And
know,
then I
there's like
clap.
no way
Yeah.
that would happen. Uh, but it's fun, uh, and yeah, I don't know. It's just like a fun movie. I'm trying to think of other things to really talk about with it.
I do gotta say, because I like this scene because Polly, as we said, doesn't get to do a whole lot in this movie, but we get this pretty
Yeah.
like sincere moment before the fight of
Oh yeah.
Polly kind of giving us like his feelings about how he feels about Rocky and everything. Like, a lot of people would have just been done with me like way before at this point, but you showed me respect, and it's like if I could just be anybody else, I'd like to be like you. And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
that was
like a
pretty
very
sweet.
nice moment from Polly. Like, okay, like showing like he does have a heart. He's got a heart in there. He
Yeah.
can be nice when he wants to, and just this like kind of nice moment. Which then they follow up with like, how I said I wanted to be you, like right before the fight. It's like, never mind.
Yeah, that
It was
was
like
funny.
very in character, but I liked that. That was nice.
Yeah, there were some nice moments between Rocky and his son earlier on
Yeah.
that felt very like, oh, here's the character, because I think the one thing I really want from a Rocky movie is Rocky, like
Mhm.
the character,
Yeah, 'cause he's
and
pretty great.
it's very absent in this one, like more than three. Uh, which that's fine. This really does feel like its own thing. Uh, but there are some glimpses of it in the beginning. Some funny lines. I like how the kid is like recording Rocky like coming back home, uh, and he like kind of like attacks the camera. Stuff like that was like cute.
Stuff that makes him feel like a person.
Yeah, yeah,
Just little
exactly.
things, little things like that. Because yeah, that's definitely been very prevalent throughout the other movies. Is Rocky doing like kind of these little silly things that just makes the character feel much more alive.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
yeah, it does feel like a little bit more absent in this one, but there's still moments in the beginning, like you said.
yeah, and we haven't gotten to Rocky 5 yet, but I will say I do remember moments like that in Rocky 5. So I'm kind of looking forward to that in a way. Uh yeah, I'm trying to think of other things to say about this movie. I'm trying to think if there's any other trivia I had in mind that I wanted to talk about. Uh I can't really think of anything. I mean, uh yeah, it's just like I said before, it really is like it is what it is. Um I do want to ask, what's your favorite song from the movie? Because there's a lot of songs in this movie.
Mm.
I'm curious if you have a favorite.
Well, you can never go wrong with "Eye of the Tiger," but that's like just I don't know if you want to count that. It's just played at the beginning, like very like
Yeah, that's like
played.
more from Rocky 3, I would
Yeah,
say.
so it's like if we're not counting that, then definitely "Hearts on Fire."
Yeah, I think that's
That
my
song
favorite.
gets stuck in my head a lot, and I like to exercise to that song sometimes. So
That's a good song to
I
exercise. I
mean,
mean, like
yeah,
any Rocky
pretty
song
much, but it's
really
like
is.
that and "Gonna Fly Now" are probably like my two favorite ones to do like any
Yeah.
kind of workout to. It just gets you going.
Yeah, I also really like Burning Heart, which I
Burning
think
Heart's
is
good
also
too. Yeah,
by Survivor, I
yeah.
believe. Um
I mean, you
so
really can't go wrong with like any of them in this.
I know, right? Like this one, there are certain movies that I feel like I don't really think they're like amazing movies, but I love them for like kind of the feel or the soundtrack. Like I love Tron Legacy because I love the Daft Punk score, and I love like the look and kind of feel of the movie. But I don't think it's like a great story or anything. It's just kind of a vibe movie. Like this
Mm.
to me is like a vibe movie. You got to like just kind of not think about it too hard and like just kind of like get into it.
To
Uh,
enjoy it for what it is. Yeah, some movies
yeah,
be like that, where
yeah.
you could
I mean, like
easily
if you,
like pick apart things about the movie that you don't like and everything, but it's like it's just kind of fun, a fun time.
yeah, and I mean if you compare this to like Rocky 1, it's like it doesn't stand a
Yeah,
chance, you know.
some people this is like some people's favorite
I mean, I can see why.
because I think
Uh,
my brother-in-law he said that like Rocky 4 is his favorite one. It's like
okay,
okay. I mean, I'm kind of like you, where it's like you can't beat Rocky 1. That's the best
yeah,
one.
to me that's like the one that just like hits like close to my heart, and it's just like such a great movie.
Yeah.
Uh, but this one is like it's so different from the first Rocky that like I don't even feel like I can compare the two, you know? Like they're just so completely different, like in tone and like goals and everything. But yeah, it's a really fun time. I'm yeah, I can't think of too much else to say. Really, really trying, but because I don't want to miss anything. But I think that's all I have to say about Rocky Four. Um, I don't know if we should rate the film first or should we try to rank the films first?
Let's rate the movie.
Okay.
I think we should rate them like when we get to Rocky Balboa. What do you think? Or do you want to rank them like from here on?
Let's rank them from here on. Let's just try it. It can always change.
Okay.
So, uh, but okay, I guess rating for the movie. I don't know. I'm struggling between a 3 and a 3.5 because I like it more than 3, but I also recognize that like it's not like a great movie to me. It again, it's a vibe movie. It's fun. Um, I'm not like left thinking about it afterwards or anything. It's not like some kind of deep story or anything, but it is really fun. I don't know. Um, I think I'm gonna give it a 3 with the asterisk of like I don't know. It's kind of a 4-star movie in a way.
It's a 3 and I don't know. Julian
Well,
2023.
I mean, it's like in a way, it's like I'll sometimes give movies like 4
Yeah.
stars if they're just like super entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of this movie for me, but I think it's more of a 3, but like a high 3.
What did you give Rocky 3? Do you remember?
I think I gave it a 3.
I think I gave Rocky 3 a 3.5, right?
I think so.
I think
wish
so.
I wrote these down.
I'm pretty sure I gave it a 3.5 because I it seems like I'm a bigger Rocky 3 fan than you are.
I think so. I don't know why. It's just like Rocky 3 doesn't stick out in my mind. Like this one really sticks out in my mind at least. Even though I do like Rocky 3. But I think again, it's like it's in that middle ground of like serious and kind of goofy. And I guess I kind of want it to go all the way either way and commit. I guess that's just me though.
Understandable.
So what would you give Rocky 4 though?
I think I'm also going to give Rocky 4 a 3.
Okay.
Because I think I was in the same boat as you. Is like it's like a 3, 3.5. It's not like quite 4 for me because that would put it more in Rocky 2 territory, and I don't like it as much as Rocky 2. So it's like, yeah, I think it's like somewhere then 3, 3.5. It's like in that range. But I think I'm going to go 3. Now, if you were to ask me after the first time, I probably would have gone like 2.5. But I definitely enjoyed it more like the second time around. So I think it's going to get a 3. Yeah, I think it's a 3 for me too.
I'm kind of curious what I gave these movies like the first time I saw them because I do log everything on Letterboxd and like I'm sure that I still have my old ratings. Very curious what I gave these films first. God, I don't know how far back I have to go, but what would you? So would you rank 3 above 4?
I think for me, I would because they're about pretty close. Like I think half a star rating difference, but I think I have more fun watching Rocky 3 than Rocky 4. But there's things that Rocky 4 does do better than 3, and there's also things I think 3 does better than 4 though. But they're both very entertaining. But yeah, I'd say I have a little bit more fun with Rocky 3.
Okay.
For me personally.
Yeah, see, like it's sort of like I definitely recognize that like 3 is like kind of the better movie. But I also just like Rocky 4. I think Rocky 4, the soundtrack is like what makes it like
great. Yeah.
Sometimes the soundtrack for me can just be like, okay, well
yeah, that can have a huge influence on a movie, so it's understandable.
Yeah. Okay, so the first time I saw Rocky 3, I gave it a 3, and the second time I saw it, I gave it a 3. Rocky 4, the first time I saw it, I gave it a 2.5. So interesting. Yeah, I think the first time seeing it, yeah, we kind of talked about it. It's like, yeah, this is kind of weird. This is
Yeah,
different.
I think Rocky Four though will only get like kind of better every time I watch it. You know what I mean? It's like I think I can just see myself enjoying this more often the more times I watch
Yeah,
it. It's kind of weird that way, but it's like because three like was pretty much about the same for me, but like four is just it's funny how just so much more I enjoyed four after watching it a second time and kind of knowing what to
yeah,
expect more. It's like, okay, this is I kind of know like it is what it is with this, and I can kind of see some of the notice some of the stuff I might not have caught the first time around. It's like, okay, I can appreciate this more like a little bit here.
yeah.
But
I
still think it's a huge
wonder.
mistake to kill off Creed, of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I wonder how that would affect my score if like Apollo was still
Hmm.
alive. Not that it like really downgrades the score or anything, but
Yeah.
just to have him in the movie more would have been cool.
Yeah. I think that's what kind
Because
of gives three the edge over four for me is like Apollo's strong presence throughout three
yeah, there's more
and all
character in
that.
3.
Yeah. I think that's kind of
Although
why three gets the edge for me personally.
I do like certain ways that they like develop Ivan, just kind of simple things like just like presenting him as like a super unstoppable force toward the beginning, like when Apollo and Ivan are gonna fight and they like slam the gloves down
Hmm.
and just like Ivan just like doesn't
I
budge.
I must break you.
Yeah, he's got some good lines. Like if he dies, he
Oh yeah,
dies.
that's just like an
Also,
iconic line.
Dolph Lundgren is not Russian. If like anyone was wondering, he's Swedish, uh, which is funny. I'm sure, like at the time, the Cold War, they probably wouldn't have gotten Russian actor.
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
was kind of thinking watching this. Was like, I wonder how many of these people are actually Russians.
yeah, I don't think Bridget. I think Bridget Nielsen is also like Swedish. Am I wrong?
I don't
No,
know.
She's Danish,
Okay.
and I did not know this until recently too. That like she and Sylvester Stallone were well, they were married, I think, at the time. Uh, and I did hear that like a lot of her scenes are cut in the director's cut, and I don't know if it's because they eventually divorced like a couple years later.
Mm.
Uh, but I mean, this is like now this would have been like 34 years later, so I don't know if there's still bad feelings like about her or anything. I don't know. Some
Mm.
people were speculating that's why she like doesn't have as many scenes in the director's cut, but who knows. Um, yeah, I'm really curious to see this director's cut. Uh, I I was gonna watch it when it came out on like streaming, but I never got around to it. Um, I don't know. I definitely feel like it's probably going to be a little more serious. Um, I don't know if you're going to do this, but there is a making of video on YouTube that is just kind of a fun like Stallone
I
takes you
think
through
I
the
think I've
editing of.
I think I've seen like the thumbnail for it like in my recommended before.
Okay, yeah, it's like
I
it's an
haven't watched
interesting
it yet.
video
Yeah, I'd like to watch it. I have not gotten to watch it yet, but I would like to.
because it's funny. I've seen that video, but I haven't seen the cut yet because the video came out like a week before the actual movie. Um, so I don't know. I wonder if that's going to be on the Blu-ray. Uh, yeah, yeah. I don't have much else to say about Rocky Four. And if there is anything we missed, we'll probably talk about it next time because we are going to watch Rocky Four. What's the full title? I think it's like Rocky Four, Rocky versus Drago, the Ultimate Director's Cut. I think is the full title.
It's a
So
mouthful.
yeah, so I'm excited to see it. We'll talk about it next time. So yeah, I don't know where we're gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it like on the 4K disc. Maybe we'll watch it together. We'll see. Yeah. So tune in next time, y'all. Bye.
I